The sky above Earth had hosted many strange things before, weather balloons mistaken for UFOs, satellites burning up on re-entry, even one rogue billionaire's car drifting in orbit like a cosmic lost and found. But nothing prepared anyone for the ship. It slid into view like a mirage carved from liquid silver, its surface folding light into impossible angles. Radar stations panicked, governments scrambled, and social media filled instantly with memes about intergalactic Amazon Prime deliveries. No missiles were launched, not because the world had suddenly become wise, but because every nation was too busy yelling at the others about who should launch first. By the time committees had drafted acronyms and proposed action plans, the vessel had already begun lowering its emissary. The descent was slow, theatrical, almost arrogant. The craft opened at its base, and from the glowing threshold stepped a figure that made even the bravest soldiers forget their rehearsed salutes. She was tall. Not basketball tall, not oh, wow, she should model tall. No, she was 8 feet of deliberate majesty. Her limbs carried a grace that made humans look like half-assembled mannequins by comparison. Her ears stretched long and upward, tapering to delicate points that caught the light and flicked, almost animal-like, as though tuned to some frequency no one else could hear. Reporters gasped. Soldiers tightened their grips. A nearby general muttered, "We'll need bigger door frames." The woman's eyes, a molten shade between gold and copper, swept across the crowd. People fell into silence, a silence so complete that one intern's nervous stomach growl echoed like cannon fire. She raised her head slightly, as though memorizing the sky she had just entered, and spoke. The sound was not a sound at all but a resonant vibration that rattled fillings and sent birds fleeing in droves. The translation devices sputtered, fritzed, and finally settled into words. "I am Karanith of the luminous stride. I come seeking." At that exact moment, one of the translators overloaded and exploded in a puff of smoke. Someone coughed awkwardly. Someone else muttered, "Great, the first alien greeting and we blow up the dictionary." Across town, in the least important cafeteria of the least important government building, Owen Tiller squinted at the broadcast on a flickering screen. He was halfway through a sandwich that looked like it had been engineered to discourage optimism. The news anchor was visibly trying not to faint as Karanith towered behind him. Owen chewed, unimpressed. 8 feet tall, long ears, walks out of a glowing spaceship. And here I thought jury duty was the weirdest thing this year. The janitor beside him snorted, "What do you think she wants?" Owen wiped mustard from his chin. "I don't know, but if she asks for spare change, we're screwed." The cafeteria erupted in laughter, partly because Owen was funny, partly because humor was the last sandbag against panic. Someone raised a paper cup in a toast. "To our new overlord." Back on the landing site, chaos spun itself tighter. A parade of diplomats assembled, each armed with thick binders of speeches and thicker egos. They tried handshakes, bows, and one unfortunate attempt at interpretive dance. Karanith endured it all with the calm patience of a titan watching ants organize a parade. Her ears flicked, betraying only mild curiosity, until finally she raised one hand. The gesture silenced the crowd more effectively than 1,000 microphones. Her translator stabilized, catching her words with a faint metallic echo. "I seek connection, I seek the courageous. Where are the brave among you?" The silence that followed was devastating. Soldiers looked at their boots. Diplomats studied their shoelaces as if sudden expertise in knots would save them. One scientist sneezed, then pretended he hadn't. Nobody stepped forward. The broadcast reached Owen's cafeteria just as she finished the question. The silence on-screen stretched unbearably. Owen, never good with silence, muttered around his sandwich crust. "Well, guess Tinder just got interesting." This time the laughter from his coworkers was explosive. Even the janitor wheezed. "You volunteering?" "Volunteering for what?" Owen asked, finishing the last bite. Holding her purse, teaching her how vending machines work. "No thanks, I've already lost enough money to those." Yet as the laughter died, Owen found himself staring at the image of Karanith on the screen. Something about her stance, the deliberate strength in the way she stood alone against a planet of hesitation, unsettled him. Not in a fearful way. More in the way one feels before a storm, awed, expectant, alive. Meanwhile, on the landing field, the tension reached absurd levels. A general whispered, "Maybe if we don't answer, she'll just leave." Karanith's gaze sharpened, her ears angling like antennae toward the cameras. For a moment, it felt as if she were staring through the broadcast itself, through the pixels and airwaves, directly into living rooms, offices, cafeterias, directly at people like Owen. He blinked, suddenly aware that his joke no longer felt like a joke. The chapter closes on that moment, the world collectively holding its breath, as if waiting to see which human, if any, was foolish or brave enough to answer her call. The plaza chosen for the official welcome looked more like a circus than the seat of human diplomacy. Bright banners flapped in the wind, cameras from every angle jostled for position, and a dozen nations argued about who would get the privilege of standing closest to Karanith. A makeshift stage had been built, reinforced after engineers realized the average podium might snap in half beneath her weight. Soldiers flanked the space, their hands twitching near rifles they were very politely pretending not to be nervous about using. Karanith stood in the center of it all, unmoving. Her ears twitched every few seconds, catching muttered insults, panicked prayers, and one soldier quietly humming a pop song to calm his nerves. She said nothing, waiting. The silence stretched until the first diplomat, a man who looked like his suit had been pressed by divine decree, stepped forward with a practiced smile. "On behalf of all Earth," he began, "we welcome you, Karanith, as a representative of intergalactic friendship." His voice trembled on friendship, as if the word itself might betray him. Karanith inclined her head, though her eyes remained steady, unblinking, making the diplomat sweat more. Her translator clicked into life. "You speak for all." The man hesitated. His eyes darted toward the delegation huddled behind him. Half nodded, half shook their heads. Someone whispered, "Tell her yes." Another hissed, "Tell her no." The diplomat swallowed hard. "Well, I speak for a portion of Earth. A respectable portion." Karanith's ears flicked once. "Which portion?" The diplomat stammered, his smile turning into the sort of grimace one makes when realizing the soup at dinner was not vegetarian after all. A very civilized one. The crowd rippled with muffled laughter. A nearby reporter whispered into his mic, "Historic first contact is going about as well as a wedding toast from a drunk uncle." Karanith's gaze shifted away from the stage and toward the crowd itself. She stepped down, her movements fluid, her sheer height forcing soldiers to shuffle backward despite orders to hold position. People gasped as she passed, though one teenager blurted, "She looks like she could dunk on LeBron," earning a chuckle even from his frightened mother. The camera zoomed, capturing every flick of her ear as she scanned the faces. Her translator sputtered back to life. "None among you steps forward. None except the one who laughs." Confusion rippled. Who had laughed? There were hundreds. But Karanith's eyes fixed not on the plaza, but on the cameras, the satellites, the invisible wires carrying signals across the planet. Somewhere far away, in a cafeteria that smelled faintly of bleach and reheated spaghetti, Owen Tiller realized she was staring at him again. He choked on his coffee. "Oh, hell no." The janitor clapped him on the back. "Congratulations, lover boy, she's into you." "Into me? She's 8 feet tall. She'd snap me like a breadstick." The cafeteria roared with laughter, though the humor dimmed when the broadcast cut to an emergency announcement. A name appeared on screen, his name. The feed displayed it in bold letters. Owen Tiller requested for official liaison duty. Owen blinked. "That's not good. That's very much not good." Within hours, he was dragged from his modest life of fixing busted recycling units and thrown into the whirlwind of history. A team of scientists shoved waivers at him, each thicker than a phone book. "Sign here, and here, and here. Initial here. This one absolves us if you're vaporized. This one covers unexpected pregnancies. Not that we expect that. Well, maybe we expect that, but we can't say we expect that. Owen signed with the resignation of a man who had long ago stopped reading warranty terms. Do I at least get health insurance upgraded? Maybe dental. They didn't laugh, he frowned. No, just me then. By the time they shoved him into a freshly pressed suit that still smelled of plastic, Owen found himself standing at the foot of the plaza stairs. The crowd had doubled, cameras flashing like strobe lights. Karenith stood waiting, her towering figure backlit by the alien craft still hovering above the city like an unscheduled moon. Owen muttered under his breath, "Great. She looks like a goddess, and I look like an understudy at a funeral." A voice whispered in his earpiece, "Remember, just be respectful. Do not make jokes." Owen stepped forward. "Got it, respectful, no jokes." He looked up at Karenith, who loomed like an obelisk carved from shadow and light. Without thinking, he blurted, "So, do you play basketball?" The entire plaza groaned. Diplomats buried their faces in their hands. Soldiers braced for annihilation. Karenith tilted her head. Her translator clicked. "Basketball." Owen nodded nervously. "Yeah, you know, big orange ball, tiny hoop, lots of running. You'd be unstoppable." Her ears twitched once, twice. And then, to the astonishment of everyone, Karenith laughed. The sound rolled like wind chimes in a canyon, deep and melodic, vibrating through the plaza. People froze, stunned. Owen blinked. Well, at least she didn't vaporize me. Yet. Karenith bent slightly, lowering her massive frame so that her eyes met his. The translator hummed. "You are less afraid. This is unusual." Owen swallowed hard. "Afraid me? Nah, I'm terrified. But I also make really bad decisions when I'm nervous, so here we are." Her ears flicked again and another laugh followed. For the first time since her arrival, the tension in the plaza cracked, replaced by cautious curiosity. Karenith extended one hand, palm open, waiting. Owen hesitated only long enough to realize the cameras were zoomed in, broadcasting worldwide. He reached out and placed his much smaller hand into hers. The plaza erupted in a collective gasp. Governments argued, scientists scribbled, reporters shouted. And above it all, Owen muttered just loud enough for her translator to catch. "Guess I just signed up for the weirdest blind date in human history." Karenith's laughter echoed again, and somewhere in the noise, humanity's fear wavered. The lab was not designed for romance. Fluorescent lights hummed like mosquitoes, glass panels reflected every nervous twitch, and machines lined the walls, blinking as though impatient to dissect whatever wandered in. Owen sat on a metal stool, fidgeting with the hem of a lab-issued jumpsuit that was at least 2 sizes too tight in the shoulders. "You know," he muttered, but beneath the jokes something subtle was happening. The longer Owen sat with her, the less alien she seemed. Her massive height, her strange ears, her shimmering eyes, they stopped feeling like barriers and started feeling like details. He realized she was watching him too, studying his awkward humor, his restless fingers, the way he covered fear with sarcasm. "You are unlike the others," her translator whispered after a pause. Owen rubbed the back of his neck. "Yeah, I've heard that before, usually right before being dumped." Her ears twitched once more, a gesture that almost looked like a smile. "Unusual is not bad." The scientists recorded it, time-stamped it, underlined it 6 times. But Owen barely noticed. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about cameras, contracts, or the ridiculousness of his situation. He was just sitting with her. The session ended with hurried notes and promises of further testing. Owen stood stretching and muttered, "Well, that wasn't so bad. Didn't get vaporized, didn't get crushed. I'll call that a win." As he turned to leave, Karenith's voice halted him. "Owen Tiller." He glanced back. "Yeah. You laugh when others fear. This is brave." He smiled crookedly. "Or stupid. People confuse those all the time." Her ears flicked once more, and he swore there was something softer in her eyes. The scientists ushered him out, babbling about compatibility and breakthroughs, but Owen only thought of one thing. She had said his name like it mattered, and for reasons he couldn't explain, he wanted to hear her say it again. The city outside the lab had become a storm. Protesters lined the streets, waving signs with slogans like Earth for Earthlings and no dating outside the species. News anchors spoke in panicked tones, speculating about hidden alien agendas. Some insisted Karaneth was here to conquer, others swore she was here to breed an army of half-human giants. Owen caught sight of a tabloid headline on his way into the facility. Alien bride seeks groom, local idiot volunteers. He groaned. Great, my mom's going to frame that one. Inside, the mood wasn't much better. Politicians barked orders through secure lines. Scientists muttered about gene samples, and generals discussed contingency plans that Owen really didn't want explained. Through it all, Karaneth sat calmly in her reinforced chair, her gaze steady, her ears flicking with every lie spoken around her. She leaned toward Owen as he was ushered back into the testing chamber. Her translator buzzed. "They fear me." Owen shrugged. "Don't take it personally. We're the kind of species that's afraid of gluten." Her ears twitched once and the corner of her mouth just barely curved. Gluten. Yeah, bread. Some people think it's plotting against them. The scientists cleared their throats, dragging attention back. "Today, we want to explore higher-level trust. We'll place you in controlled scenarios, confined spaces, stress simulations, potential conflict triggers." Owen raised a hand. "Define stress simulation." A scientist tapped his tablet. "Imagine an elevator but with failing lights, loud noises, and no exit for several minutes." Owen groaned. "So, every elevator I've ever been in." They were led into the chamber. The lights dimmed, alarms blared, and the room shook as if under siege. Owen flinched, instinctively covering his head. Beside him, Karaneth remained motionless, calm as a mountain. She extended a hand toward him, palm up. Owen hesitated, heart pounding, then placed his hand in hers. Immediately, her presence steadied him. The noise and chaos seemed less important, almost distant. He whispered, "Okay, this is either really comforting or the beginning of a very weird kidnapping." Karaneth's translator clicked, "You trust. Or I've just accepted my bad life choices. 50-50. The simulation ended, lights snapping back to sterile white. Scientists clapped quietly as though they just watched two actors nail a scene. "Remarkable," one muttered. "Her biosignals and his stabilized almost in tandem." Owen pulled his hand back, grumbling. "Glad my panic attack is now considered science." Later, they were escorted to a quieter chamber for unscripted interaction. It was basically a lounge with couches and a table stocked with snacks. Owen stared at the options: granola bars, chips, bottled water. Historic interspecies diplomacy, and you brought trail mix. Karaneth picked up a granola bar, turning it over curiously. "Food." Owen grinned. "Technically. But eat too many, and you'll be chewing until the next ice age." She peeled it open anyway, sniffed, and bit down. Her ears flicked as the crunch echoed. She chewed slowly, then nodded. "Acceptable." The scientists scribbled notes as though they had just recorded the first alien restaurant review. As they sat, Karaneth grew quiet. Her gaze shifted toward the observation windows where silhouettes of politicians hovered. Her translator hummed low, "They do not want me here." Owen leaned back. "Yeah, well, most of them don't want me here either. You should have seen the look on the general's face when I said hi. I thought his mustache was going to resign." Her ears twitched once, the alien equivalent of a smile, then her voice softened. "Do you?" Owen blinked. "Do I what?" "Want me here?" He looked at her for a long moment. 8 feet of height, ears tuned to strange music, eyes that seemed older than the stars she spoke about. Against all logic, he found himself smiling. "Yeah, I think I do." The words hung in the air, simple yet heavier than anything he had signed in those endless waivers. For a heartbeat, even the scientists in the observation room were silent. Then Owen ruined the solemnity by reaching for the trail mix. "But I still think you owe me a drink for that arm wrestling stunt." Karanith laughed, a low ripple that filled the chamber. And just like that, the storm outside felt a little farther away. The announcement came at dawn. The Council of Nations had decided. Karanith's presence was a destabilizing influence, her mission uncertain, her bond with Owen deeply concerning. The solution, they declared, was a public demonstration, proof that trust between species could exist or proof that it could not. Either way, the decision would be final. Owen heard the words while half asleep on a cot in the observation lounge. He rubbed his eyes, groaned, and muttered, "Public demonstration. What like a talent show? Because if they expect me to juggle, humanity's doomed." The scientist delivering the message did not laugh. "You will stand beside her. You will represent your species. You will either succeed or," he hesitated, "or we may have to escort her off-world." Owen sat up straighter. "Escort off-world, that's a very polite way of saying kick her out." The scientist didn't correct him. Hours later, the plaza that had once trembled under Karanith's arrival was packed again, every screen on Earth broadcasting the moment. Soldiers ringed the square, politicians lined the balconies, and civilians filled the streets, holding signs that ranged from "Go home, giant lady" to "Marry me, Karanith." Owen spotted one that read "Intergalactic Power Couple" and nearly choked. "I don't know whether to laugh or ask for royalties." Karanith stood at the center, radiant and still, her ears flicking as the noise of the crowd battered her from all sides. Owen approached, his legs shaking just enough that he muttered to himself, "Don't trip, don't trip. If you trip, humanity loses the first contact Olympics." The announcer's voice boomed. "Today we witness the final act of trust. The alien emissary will extend her hand. Will a human accept it, freely and without fear?" The plaza went silent. Owen looked around. Not a single soldier moved. Not a single diplomat stepped forward. He sighed. "Of course. Guess it's me again, history's designated idiot." He stepped up to her. She lowered her enormous hand, palm open, waiting. Owen stared at it for a beat too long, then glanced back at the crowd. "You're all just gonna watch me do this like it's an extreme sport, huh?" Someone coughed. Someone else yelled, "Don't die." Owen turned back, squared his shoulders, and pressed his hand